Welcome to episode 85. I want to talk today about why my Welch grandfather came to Houston to work for the railroad. Kind of an interesting story. They were going to build a railroad from Houston to Mexico City, and I think that's why he came to Houston to work for the railroad. It never happened because the terrain was so difficult between the two cities. And even today, there's no direct railroad from Houston to Mexico City. So that's the topic here of how that happened and why he came from Argentina to live in Houston and work for the railroad. It's an interesting story. This is brought to you by you, my sponsor. What you do is you buy me a cup of coffee because I'm talking, buy me a cup of coffee for $5 or a glass of wine like this at buymeacoffee.com. It's a website that has millions of users, and it puts money directly in my bank account. So if you like what I'm saying, buy me a cup of coffee or a beer. We're at a cafe, right? And what you do is you look at the link below, just click on that. So that's my sponsor. Individual is you, okay? The other sponsor I have is my corporate sponsor, which is Sonostics.com, and it invented a device that you put under your feet when you're sitting at a desk, and it talks to your nervous system and pumps blood up from your lower body using the soleus muscle to your upper body, and your heart works better and your blood pressure drops, and after 6 months you have no cognitive decline. If you have cognitive decline, a lot of cognitive decline is lack of blood flow to the brain. Okay, so those are my sponsors. Now I'm going to talk about the situation with the train to Mexico City. My history, I found out when I was in Buenos Aires dancing tango, is that my great-great-grandfather is a man named Guillermo Rawson, R-A-W-S-O-N. He was the Minister of Interior of Argentina, and as such, he created the railroads in Argentina. And my grandfather is a descendant of his, I think probably son or grandson or whatever. And so everyone in the Rawson family loved railroads, and the kids used to ride the trains with their, with the Rawson families. So I think what happened was my grandfather in Houston, my father told me, was made to be a doctor. He was kind of forced to be a doctor, and he had a medical degree, but he didn't want to be a doctor. He wanted to work for the railroads. And basically what he did is he ran away from home. That's what I understand. And what he did is he came to America, and he started over by going to the state of Oklahoma, where they gave away free land. It was a race. You get in your buckboard, your wagon, and you'd race with other people. And whatever land you could find, you could put a stake in it, and it was yours. And so my grandfather met my grandmother in Oklahoma, and they married. And my dad was born in Enid, Oklahoma. But then the family moved to Houston. And I always wondered, well, why would they come to Houston? And the reason was they were talking about building a railroad from Houston to Mexico City. And that was the reason. But it never happened because the geography is so difficult. There are canyons and mountains. The largest canyon in North America is not the Grand Canyon in the United States. It's the canyon in Mexico, and I forget what the name of it is. But it's a huge canyon and very difficult. So that's the reason why my grandfather, I think, Argentine ended up in Houston. And I didn't know anything about any of this until I went to Argentina to dance tango, and I pulled out my credit card, and they said, "Oh, William Rawson, Guillermo Rawson, muy famoso." And I said, "What are you talking about?" And I looked on the internet. They said, "Go to the internet, find out." I went to the internet, and I found out that what happened was Edward Rawson in 1600 came from the Netherlands with the Dutch on the Mayflower, and Edward Rawson founded Boston, Massachusetts. He lived on Rawson Street right next to the cemetery. It was renamed Brompton Street. Today that's the name of the street. And so the Rawsons founded Boston, Massachusetts, right? But it was under the British, and they owned, I think, all of New Hampshire, actually. But of course, there was a thing called the American Revolution. And then when that happened, the Rawsons lost everything, okay? So what happened was some of the family, Amon Rawson specifically, decided to start over and move to another British area. And at the time it was Argentina, because Britain was very heavily involved in Argentina. And so Amon immigrated to San Juan, Argentina, on the west coast of Argentina, right next to where they make the wine, and so the Rawsons, and he started, Dr. Rawson, he was a doctor, started the Rawson Hospital in San Juan, Argentina. And that was the first Rawson Hospital. And then his son, who was born in Argentina, Guillermo Rawson, went to medical school, and he started the hospital, the Rawson Hospital, actually the second one, but the biggest one in Argentina. And then he was head of that hospital, and he allowed the poor people to come in and dance tango for free in his hospital because he was the public health guy. And he also became the Minister of the Interior of Argentina. So he became a very important guy. And then his son, or probably grandson, was my grandfather, okay, who left Argentina because he didn't want to be a doctor, and he married my grandmother. And of course, my grandmother was a nurse. And she was very disappointed that he decided not to be a doctor and to work for the railroads. So that's the history. It's kind of interesting. And today they're talking about finally building a railroad to Mexico City because of the economic ties. But it hasn't been built yet. And so there is no direct rail link from Houston to Mexico City yet, but there will be. So that's the end of this story, episode 85. And I talk about other things you can do to help me. For free, FREE, you can click on the subscribe button. That's important. The most important, I understand, is the like button, because that spreads the algorithm to more people. The other thing you can do, of course, is very important, is share this website, or this podcast, with other people, and that's good, and they can see how crazy I am. And then the other thing you can do is, I'm trying to think what else. Well, that's it. No, there's another thing you can do. If you're on a YouTube application, specifically, and now X is publishing the YouTube application, and so is Facebook, and of course YouTube is. If you're on a YouTube application, you'll see in-screen tags at the top, and there are 3 of them. The one on the top right is a subscribe in tag. You click on that, it automatically subscribes you to my channel. It's free, doesn't cost any money, and what it does, it just notifies you whenever I have a new podcast. That's all it does. The one on the top left is a link I'll send you to that is related to what I'm talking about here, and you can go watch that if you like. And then the one on the bottom left is called a playlist, and playlists are actually podcasts, okay? It's a list of 85, podcast 85 all the way down to podcast 1 of all my podcasts, and you can pick and choose the subject matter. And these videos that I make here live forever on YouTube. Once I post them, they stay there forever unless I take them down. And they also are going up on X and also on Facebook, all over the place, right? So that's what you can do to help me that's free. But like I say, if you're a friend, right, you'll buy me a cup of coffee, I think, maybe, right? And also, like I say, if you have a YouTube channel and you're at a cafe, I'll buy you oh, that was kind of fun. I don't know what that was. We're still alive here. I think it was a car backfiring. But anyway, yeah, so that's kind of what goes on. You buy me a cup of coffee if you're a friend. If you want to be a friend and you don't buy me a cup of coffee, fine. But think about it. I'm more impressed if you act like a friend and do something that's nice for me. I was interrupted. This is the end of episode 95. See you next time. Bye-bye.